These nights for me are fantastic because this is where the nuts and bolts stuff really happen. You know, we can have fun riding around on our motorbikes, we can have fun doing things, but this is where change takes place.
I guess the Bible study was really part of the becoming a long rider for me. I was kind of being accepted, and for me being well disabled is a big thing to put yourself out there and do something that's kind of you know, whether you're at risk of being rejected. That I truly appreciate, and that's really only what it's done. It's just brought me closer to God, really. Yeah, that unconditional aspect.
Yeah. And
how did you get the nickname Ditch?
Rode down a ditch,
backwards.
They were kind of both petrified that I'd made a mess of my bike. Yeah, and then when Matt came and the rest of the crew rocked up, you know, and they took my bike and they moved, I thought, oh, don't move it, you know. I can't believe it's going to be wrecked. But as it turned out, they wheeled it out of this big ditch, Mac and everyone else. Sean was running, everyone was running. And they said to me, get on it, you need to ride the handle. Yeah. So, you know, I said, oh, look, you're bugging, mate. You shouldn't really be riding a motorcycle. You know, perhaps we should take it home. It might be a bit safer for you and everyone else. No, but they said, get on it. See you down the handle. You take off now, we'll catch you, they said. Did they? They did.
Yeah. I had a bike accident and my daughter was on the back of my bike. The first thing I worried about was my daughter. I dropped my bike, which that was my number one thing beforehand. But my daughter come first. The lady that actually ran into me, she was opened up the car door and stood behind the car door like she was petrified of what I was going to do. And there was a couple of guys in front that I ran into, and they were two young fellas, and they both got out the car, and I actually said to one of the young boys, just go and check and make sure the lady's fine. I said, she's probably a bit nervous and everything else, and he just sort of looked at me dumbfounded like, she's just wrecked your bike, she's hurt your daughter, and he still had compassion for her. I said, well,
yeah.
At one stage in my life I wouldn't have, I would have gone off at it, blown off the handle and
ripped the door off the car.
Ripped the head off and
turned green, incredible Hulk.
But now, like, I used to call myself Angry Mick. My past before, like Gus said, BC, before Christ, before I come to Christ, I was Angry Mick, but now I'm Happy Mick.
Yeah.
And on the 12th of May I give my heart to God, which I never thought I would have done. And that's all through these guys just sitting and listening, and like Bronte said, you're not judged here, you're accepted, wholly and solely.
Yeah. I met Jim at Team Challenge, talking to Jim about Longriders and that me and my other half want to start going. I thought in the back of my mind that Longriders were mainly for Harley Davidsons, because I always saw Harley Davidsons here. And I'm the one with the little 50cc scooter. And every now and then I do bring my scooter along, and I never, plus I thought I was being judged too, but I never, now I don't feel like I'm being judged, and I've been staying here ever since.
When I was a baby I had a lot of health problems. I got really sick in that, and almost died when I was a baby. I had a hole in my heart, and that's why I've got a bit of a disability, but you can hardly even notice it, and I'm quite smart in some areas.
And cheeky.
And cheeky. I want to get a bike in that and knock around Longriders and maybe eventually join. And I just think Longriders is a great place to be.
Tell a story about when you went to sleep on the back of the bike and nearly fell off.
Which time?
I could go back 10 years, I suppose, is probably the major turning point of where I was heading towards suicide. With my death of my mother on Good Friday and my father 3 months later, I struggled with it for quite some time. until I sat in the shed with a shotgun and thought it would be very easy now. This is where it all stops and the pain and suffering goes. And funnily enough, I'd only just bought a Harley only about 6 months earlier, and I hated Harleys until that point. And thought, well, I've only just bought it. I should ride it a few more times yet. And it was around that time when, for some reason, the Longriders popped into my head. I forced myself to come at times. There's sometimes I wish I wasn't here. But I know that for every step forward I take, it keeps me one step further forward than where I've been. Yeah, it's not easy, but it's getting better. It's getting better.